Every morning for 6 months, my daughter-in-law Vanessa handed me my pills with a glass of water and a smile. I thanked her every time. But I was getting weaker. My memory was fading. Some mornings, I couldn't remember my own address. Then one afternoon, my pharmacist called and asked me a question that changed everything. "Mrs. Davis, who changed your prescription?" I hadn't changed anything. And suddenly, the fog in my mind started to clear. Not because the pills got better, but because the truth finally started coming out. Like the video, subscribe, and tell me, where are you watching from tonight? My name is Margaret Davis. I am 67 years old, and for most of my life, I believed I understood the meaning of family. My husband Robert and I built a life in Portland, Oregon, in a modest cedar house on a quiet street near the park. It was not large, but it was ours. The siding was painted a soft sage green, and the front porch had a swing that squeaked when the wind blew hard from the west. Robert worked as a civil engineer for 30 years, and I taught library science at the community college. We saved carefully. We planned carefully. We had a savings account that held $120,000, meant for our retirement and emergencies. Robert used to say, "Trust but verify." He said it when we bought the house. He said it when we invested for retirement. He said it when our son David was born. I thought it was just his way of worrying. I did not know it was a warning. David was our only child. He was kind when he was young, always helping neighbors carry groceries, always fixing things around the house. He had Robert's eyes, a deep brown that seemed to look right through you when he was listening. We lived peacefully for decades. The neighbors knew us as the couple who hosted block parties every 4th of July. We grilled hamburgers and handed out sparklers to the children. Robert would stand by the fire pit and tell stories about the bridges he designed. I would sit on the porch steps and watch the smoke rise into the summer sky. It felt like a life that would never end. It felt like a life that was secure. But security is often just an illusion we tell ourselves to sleep better at night. Robert was the careful one in our marriage. An engineer by profession, he believed in plans, backup plans, and then one more plan in case the first two failed. While I spent 35 years teaching students how to find information and organize books, Robert spent those same decades designing structures and worrying about things collapsing. But in our home, nothing ever felt like it would collapse. The shelves were level, the roof did not leak, the finances were balanced to the penny. David grew up loved, supported, and encouraged. When he struggled with geometry in high school, Robert sat at the kitchen table night after night helping him. When David wanted to attend the University of Oregon for business school, we quietly took money from our savings to help cover what scholarships did not. We never considered it a sacrifice. That is what parents do. We believed we were building a foundation for his future. We did not know we were building a target on our backs. David was ambitious, though not always careful. In his late 20s, he tried to start a small consulting firm with a friend. It failed within 2 years, leaving him with debt and embarrassment. Robert and I helped him through that too, though we never told anyone outside the family. We paid off $30,000 of his credit card debt. We told him it was a loan, but we never asked for it back. Robert said something to me during that time that I did not think much about then. "Helping someone stand up is good," he told me one evening while we washed dishes. "But if you carry them too long, they may forget how to walk." I thought he was just being philosophical. I thought he was talking about business. I did not realize he was talking about character. David eventually recovered, found steady work, and met Vanessa when he was 32. She was beautiful, organized, and very sharp. She worked in healthcare administration, or so she told us. She had a way of speaking that made people listen carefully. When they married, Robert and I hosted the reception in our backyard. We paid for half the wedding. We helped with the down payment on their condo in the Pearl District. We gave them $50,000 for the closing costs. We did not consider it a loan. That is what parents do. For 5 years, things were stable. We saw them on holidays, we exchanged gifts. Life moved forward quietly, until the night Robert died. It was a Thursday in November. The rain was heavy, the kind that taps against the window like a finger wanting to come in. Robert was fixing a shelf in the garage when he collapsed. I found him 20 minutes later. The paramedics said it was an aneurysm, quick and painless, they told me. But the silence he left behind was not painless. For the first 3 months, I barely left the house. The coffee mug he used every morning sat on the counter untouched. His slippers were still by the door. Grief changes the weight of objects. A chair feels heavier. A room feels larger. David called often during that time. He sounded worried. "Mum, you should not be alone," he said one evening. "I'm all right," I insisted. But I was not sleeping. I was forgetting things. Bills piled up on the kitchen table. The mail started to overflow in the mailbox. I would look at the envelopes and feel a wave of exhaustion so heavy I had to sit down. I knew I could not manage everything forever. I knew I was 70 years old. But the idea of leaving the house felt like leaving Robert behind all over again. The walls held his voice. The garden held his handprints. Every corner was a memory I was not ready to let go of. Yet the isolation was eating me alive. The silence was so loud it rang in my ears. I started talking to the cat just to hear a voice in the room. Something about the way the house settled at night made me jump. I was becoming a stranger in my own home. Then one Sunday afternoon, David and Vanessa drove up from the city and sat with me at the kitchen table where Robert and I had eaten thousands of meals. Vanessa spoke first. Her voice was smooth, like polished glass. "Margaret, we have been talking. You need support. The house is too much. The stairs are dangerous." David nodded slowly. "We have a guest room. It is on the first floor. You would be safe with us." I remember the way Vanessa looked at me, not with pity, with calculation. I shook my head at first. "This is my home," I said. "Robert built the shelves in the garage. He planted the roses in the front yard." Vanessa leaned forward. "Think about the future. What if you fall? What if you forget to turn off the stove?" David added his voice. "We just want you safe, Mum. It is not about the house. It is about you." I looked at my son. He avoided my eyes. That small detail did not seem important at the time. It would later change everything. I agreed to try it for 2 weeks. I packed 1 suitcase. I left the house locked up, telling myself I would be back soon. I put a note on the fridge for the neighbour to watch the place. I told myself it was temporary, just a trial, just to see if I could handle the change. The drive to their condo took 40 minutes. I watched the cityscape blur past the window. I held my purse tight in my lap. Inside was my wallet, my keys, and the deed to my house. I did not know then that I was driving away from my independence. I did not know I was driving into a trap. The condo was modern, with steel appliances and hardwood floors. It smelled like lemon cleaner and nothing else. There was no warmth in it, no history, no life. It felt like a showroom. I was shown to the guest room. It was nice. Clean sheets, a view of the street. But the rules began immediately. Vanessa said she would manage my medications. She said it was for safety. Every morning at 8, she brought a small plastic cup with 4 pills. 1 white, 1 blue, 1 yellow, 1 small brown one. I took them with water. She watched me swallow. "Good girl," she said sometimes, like I was a child. For the first week, I felt fine. By the 3rd week, I felt tired. By the 2nd month, I could not remember what I had for breakfast. I asked David about it one evening while Vanessa was in the shower. He was watching television. "Mum, you were just grieving," he said without looking at me. "Stress affects memory. You know that." Something about the way he said those words made my chest tighten. It was not concern. It was dismissal. He did not ask how I felt. He did not ask if I was scared. He just repeated what Vanessa had told him to say. I went to bed early that night. I slept for 12 hours. When I woke up, I did not know what day it was. The weakness grew worse. My hands shook when I held a spoon. I dropped a glass in the kitchen one morning. Vanessa rushed in, not to help me, but to sweep the shards away quickly. "Be careful," she said sharply. "You could hurt yourself." Then she looked at David. "We need to talk about the finances." I was standing in the hallway. They probably did not think I could hear, but old houses carry sound. Even condos do. I heard Vanessa whisper something that made my blood run cold. "The paperwork is almost ready. Once she signs, the account transfers." David replied quietly, "Just make sure she takes the pills. Do not miss a day." I stood frozen in the hallway. The words drifted through the air like smoke. I realized something I had not known I was ready to understand. This was not care. This was control. My heart began to pound so hard I thought they might hear it. I backed away slowly. I went back to the guest room and locked the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to breathe. I started hiding pills. When Vanessa handed me the cup, I would put them in my mouth, drink the water, but keep the pills under my tongue. Later, in the bathroom, I would spit them out and wrap them in tissue. I hid them in the bottom of my suitcase. I needed to know what they were. I am not a doctor, but I know my own body. I know what keeps me steady and what makes me fall. The yellow pill was new. I had never seen it before Robert died. My original prescription was for blood pressure and cholesterol. These pills made me sleep for 14 hours. They made me feel like I was walking through mud. One afternoon, Vanessa left her purse on the kitchen counter. She went to take a phone call in the bedroom. I saw the strap hanging off the edge. My heart beat fast. I knew I should not look, but Robert's voice echoed in my mind. Trust but verify. I opened the purse. Inside was a small orange bottle. The label was crumpled. I smoothed it out with shaking fingers. It was my name, Margaret Davis. But the dosage was different, much higher. And the drug name was not what my doctor prescribed. It was a sedative mixed with something else. I took a photo of the label with my phone. My hands were trembling so bad I dropped the phone twice. Then I heard footsteps. I closed the purse and sat back down in the chair just as Vanessa walked in. She looked at me. Her eyes narrowed for a second. "Did you need something, Margaret?" she asked. "Just water," I said. My voice sounded steady. That small glance didn't escape my notice. She knew, or she suspected. I drank the water slowly. I needed to buy time. I needed to think. I realized I could not stay in this condo another night. But I had nowhere to go. Or so I thought. The next day, I asked David to drive me to the pharmacy. I said I needed to refill a prescription. Vanessa said she could do it. She said it was easier. I insisted. I need to speak to the pharmacist, I said. It is personal. David sighed. He looked annoyed. Fine, Mum, but hurry. I do not have all day. In the car, I tried to talk to him. David, I feel strange. The pills make me sleepy. He kept his eyes on the road. It is for your own good. The doctor said you need rest. You are under stress. I looked at his profile. He looked like the boy I raised, but something was hard around his mouth. Something had changed. I realized I couldn't remember the sound of his laugh anymore. When was the last time he laughed with me? Not at me. With me. The silence in the car was heavy. It felt like a wall between us. I looked out the window at the passing streets. I recognized nothing. I felt completely alone. We arrived at the pharmacy. It was a small independent shop on the corner of 4th and Maple. I had gone there for 20 years. The pharmacist was a man named Mr. Henderson. He was older than me, with white hair and kind eyes. David waited in the car. He said he did not want to come in. I walked to the counter. Mr. Henderson looked up and smiled. Then the smile faded. He looked at my hands. He looked at my eyes. Margaret, he said quietly, you do not look well. I leaned over the counter. I need you to check something. I showed him the photo of the bottle from Vanessa's purse. He put on his glasses. He typed on the computer. The silence stretched out. For a moment, the room felt unusually quiet. Then he looked at me. Mrs. Davis, who changed your prescription? I told him the truth. I said my daughter-in-law has been giving me pills. I said I did not authorize this. Mr. Henderson's face went grave. He lowered his voice. This is not your medication, Margaret. This is a heavy sedative. Combined with your heart medication, it could stop your breathing. He paused. Someone is trying to harm you. The words hit me like a physical blow. I had to hold on to the counter to stay standing. Elder abuse. I had heard the term on the news. I never thought it would be my life. I never thought it would be my son's wife. Mr. Henderson leaned closer. I am calling the police. No, I said, not yet. I need proof. If I accuse them without proof, David will choose her. He always chooses her. Mr. Henderson nodded slowly. He understood. He printed out my official records. He gave me a new bottle of my real medication. He whispered one thing. Be careful. They are watching. I got back in the car. David asked if everything was okay. I said yes. Just a mix-up with the insurance. He nodded and started the engine. I held the new bottle in my lap. I did not take the pills Vanessa gave me that night. I flushed them down the toilet. For the first time in months, I slept deeply. But I woke up with a plan. I could not stay in that condo. I could not rely on David yet. He was complicit, whether he knew it or not. I needed help. I remembered Robert's lawyer. His name was Arthur Jenkins. He handled our will. I found the card in my wallet. I called him from the bathroom while Vanessa was at work. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said one thing. Do not sign anything. Do not leave the house. I am coming to you. The next 3 days were a blur of tension. Vanessa was more watchful. She checked my pill cup twice a day. She asked why I was eating less. I said my stomach was upset. She touched my forehead. "You feel warm," she said. "Maybe we should call the doctor." I pulled away. "I am fine," I said. My voice was sharper than usual. She stepped back, surprised. She was used to the weak old woman who nodded and obeyed. That small shift in power did not escape her notice. She made a phone call that night. I heard her in the kitchen. She said the timeline needs to move up. She is getting suspicious. I wrote down the time. I wrote down the words. Evidence. Robert used to say paperwork matters. I was finally listening. On the fourth day, Vanessa handed me a document. She said it was for insurance purposes. It was thick, with legal binding. She pointed to a line at the bottom. "Just sign here, Margaret. It allows us to manage your medical bills." I looked at the paper. It was not for medical bills. It was a guardianship transfer. It gave them full control over my assets, my home, and my person. Once I signed, I would be a ward of the state, managed by them. My house in Portland would be sold. My savings would be theirs. This was a guardianship scam. I held the pen. My hand did not shake. I looked at Vanessa. She smiled. It was a cold smile. I put the pen down. "I need to read this first," I said. Her smile vanished. "There is nothing to read. It is standard." I stood up. "I am going for a walk. Do not wait up for me." I walked out the door. I did not go for a walk. I went to a coffee shop 2 blocks away. I called Arthur Jenkins. He said he was ready. We had a meeting scheduled for that afternoon. I returned to the condo an hour later. David was home from work. He was sitting on the couch. Vanessa was pacing. They both looked at me when I entered. "Where were you?" David asked. His voice was angry. "I was getting air," I said. I sat in the chair opposite them. I placed my handbag on the table. Vanessa looked at the bag. She knew I had something. "We need to talk," I said. "About the pills, about the paper, about the house." David stood up. "Mum, stop. You are confused." Vanessa stepped in. "Margaret, you are sick. You need help. We are trying to help you. Why are you fighting us?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw the fear in his eyes. He was not just greedy. He was afraid of her, or afraid of losing what she promised him. I felt sadness, heavy and deep, but I also felt clarity. For the first time since Robert died, I felt something other than grief. Clarity. "I am not sick," I said. "You are poisoning me." The room went silent. Vanessa laughed. It was a harsh sound. "That is crazy. We have taken care of you." David looked at me. "Mom, do not say things like that." I reached into my bag. I pulled out the photo of the bottle. I pulled out the printout from Mr. Henderson. I pulled out the notes I had written of their conversations. I placed them on the table. "This is prescription fraud," I said. "This is elder abuse. And I have reported it." Vanessa's face went pale. She looked at David. "You said she was too weak to notice." David looked at me. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked at the papers. He looked at his wife. Then he looked at the floor. I stood up. "I am leaving. My lawyer is outside. He is filing for emergency guardianship. Not for you, for me, over me." Vanessa stepped forward. "You cannot do this. We own you." You signed the power of attorney last week. I smiled. I did not sign anything. You forged my signature. And forgery is a felony. The doorbell rang. It was Arthur Jenkins, and behind him stood 2 police officers. They had been waiting in the hallway. I had asked them to come, just in case. The officers spoke to Vanessa first. They asked her about the medication. They asked about the documents. She tried to lie. She said I was confused. She said I was dementia. Mr. Henderson arrived 10 minutes later. He brought the pharmacy logs. He showed the changes in my prescription. He showed the dates. They matched the dates I started getting weak. The officers looked at David. "Are you aware of this?" one asked. David shook his head. "No, I did not know." Vanessa screamed at him, "You liar! You knew everything! You wanted the house!" The argument was loud. It was ugly. I sat in the chair and watched. I did not feel joy. I felt relief. The pharmacist saved life. Not just mine. Maybe David's too. If he had gone through with this, he would have lost himself forever. Vanessa was taken into custody for questioning. The charges were severe: attempted manslaughter, fraud, theft. David stayed in the condo. He did not look at me when the officers led her away. I walked over to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. He flinched. "I am going home," I said. "To Portland. You can come visit, when you are ready." He nodded. He did not speak. I left with Arthur Jenkins. We drove back to my house. The key turned in the lock. The air inside smelled like dust and roses. It smelled like Robert. I sat in his chair. I poured a cup of tea. I did not take any pills. I just sat. The legal process took months. Vanessa pleaded guilty to avoid trial. She was sentenced to prison. David filed for divorce. He sold the condo. He moved back to Portland. He rents a small apartment near me. We have dinner once a week. It is quiet. We are rebuilding. Trust takes time. He helps me in the garden now. He fixes the shelves in the garage. He is trying. I am trying. But I keep the door locked. I keep my medications in a safe. Robert used to say, "Trust that verify." I understand now. It is not about cynicism. It is about respect. Respect for yourself. Respect for the truth. I often think about that phone call from Mr. Henderson. If he had not noticed the dosage, if he had not cared enough to call, I would not be here. I tell this story not to scare you, but to wake you up. Look at your bills. Look at your pills. Ask questions. Do not be polite when your safety is at risk. Politeness is expensive. I learned that the hard way. My name is Margaret Davis. I am 67 years old. And I am alive. Because I chose to verify. There are many people watching this who feel alone, who feel like their family has turned against them. You are not alone. There are people like Mr. Henderson. There are lawyers like Arthur. There are neighbours who care. Reach out. Speak up. Your voice matters. Your life matters. Do not let anyone take it from you, even if they share your blood. The house on Maple Street is quiet now. The roses are blooming. Robert would have liked that. He would have sat on the porch and watched them grow. I sit there too. I watch the sun go down. And I remember. I remember the weakness. I remember the fog. And I remember the moment I chose to see clearly. Thank you for listening to my story. It was not easy to tell. but secrets lose power when you speak them out loud. If you learned something today, share this with someone you love. Check on your parents. Check on your friends. Make sure they are safe. We are responsible for each other. That is what family should be. Not control, not fear, but care. Real care. I will be here next week with another story. Until then, keep your eyes open. Keep your heart strong. And remember, trust but verify. Good night. The days blurred into one another like watercolors left in the rain. I woke up each morning to the sound of Vanessa's heels clicking on the hardwood floor. It was a sharp, rhythmic sound that signaled the start of the routine. Cup of water, 4 pills. Watch me swallow. She stood there with her arms crossed until I opened my mouth to prove I was empty. I had become an actor in my own home. I smiled when I felt like screaming. I nodded when I wanted to run. The guest room was clean, but it felt like a cage. The window looked out onto a brick wall. There was no garden, no roses, no smell of earth, just concrete and exhaust fumes from the street below. I missed the silence of my own house. I missed the way the light hit the kitchen table at 10 in the morning. Here, the light was artificial. It hummed. It gave me a headache. I continued to hide the pills. I tucked them into the hem of my sweater. I slipped them into the pocket of my robe. I had a small collection wrapped in tissue inside the lining of my suitcase. It was a dangerous game. If she found them, I knew what would happen. She would say I was confused. She would say I was hiding medication because I was sick. She would use it against me. David started coming home earlier. He said he was working from home more often. But I saw him sitting at the dining table with Vanessa. They whispered over papers. They stopped talking when I walked into the room. David would look at his phone. Vanessa would smile that tight, cold smile. Something about the way they moved around each other made my stomach tighten. They were partners in this. I could see it now. The love I thought they had was mixed with something else. Greed. Impatience. One evening, I pretended to go to bed early. I turned off the light in the guest room. I waited. The condo was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I counted to 100. Then I opened the door just a crack. The hallway was dark. I could see light coming from the kitchen. I crept along the wall. The floorboards did not creak here. The carpet was thick. I hid behind the partition wall. I could hear them clearly. Vanessa was speaking. Her voice was low but distinct. "We need to move faster," she said. "The market is hot right now. If we sell the house now, we can clear the debt," David replied. She might suspect something. She went to the pharmacy alone. Vanessa laughed. It was a dry sound. "She is 70 years old. She is forgetting things. We have the medical records. We have the power of attorney draft. Once she signs, it is done." David sighed. "I just do not want her to get hurt." Vanessa snapped. "She is already hurt. She is old. This is for us, for the kids, for our future." I stood in the shadows. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst. They were not just taking my money. They were selling my home. The house where Robert died. The house where David learned to walk. They were going to turn it into cash. I slipped back to my room before they finished talking. I sat on the bed and shook. I needed to write this down. I found a pen in my purse. I found the back of an old envelope. I wrote the date. I wrote the time. I wrote the words they said. Sell the house. Clear the debt. Power of attorney. My handwriting was shaky. The letters leaned to the left, but it was evidence. Robert used to say, paperwork matters. I never understood how much until now. Words on a page could save a life, or they could steal one. I hid the envelope inside a box of winter gloves at the bottom of my suitcase. I knew Vanessa cleaned the room sometimes. She said it was to help me, but I knew she was looking for things. I had to be smarter. I had to be invisible. The next morning, she handed me the pills. I took them. I drank the water. I opened my mouth. She looked inside. She nodded. "Good," she said. "You look tired today. Did you sleep well?" I smiled. "I slept fine," I said. "Just dreaming too much." She studied my face. For a second, I thought she knew. Then she turned away. "Go get dressed. We have errands." I needed to contact Arthur Jenkins, but I could not use the house phone. Vanessa checked the call log. I could not use my cell phone freely. She asked to see it sometimes, to help me with the settings. I waited for my chance. On Tuesday, Vanessa had a doctor's appointment. David drove her. They left me alone for 2 hours. I locked the guest room door. I sat on the floor by the window where the signal was strongest. I dialed the number from memory. Arthur answered on the 3rd ring. His voice was calm. "Margaret, is everything okay?" I whispered. "I need help. They are planning to sell my house. They are forging documents." Arthur did not ask questions. He did not doubt me. He said, "Listen carefully. Do not sign anything. Do not tell them you know. I am going to send a messenger to the pharmacy. Mr. Henderson will give you a package. Pick it up tomorrow." I asked how. He said, "Tell them you need aspirin. It will be inside the bottle." I hung up. My hands were sweating. I wiped them on my robe. I heard the front door open. They were back early. I unlocked the door and sat on the bed. I picked up a book. Vanessa walked in. She looked at me. She looked at the phone on the nightstand. "Who are you talking to?" she asked. I kept my voice steady. "Just David. He called to check in." Vanessa narrowed her eyes. "He was with me. He did not call." I shrugged. "Maybe it went to voicemail. I do not know how this thing works." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she took the phone. "I will check the history." She walked out. I held my breath. I had deleted the call, but I knew she was suspicious. That small glance didn't escape my notice. The trust was gone. Now it was war. The next day we went to the pharmacy. David drove. Vanessa came inside with me. She held my arm. Like I was invalid. Like I might fall. Mr. Henderson was behind the counter. He looked at me. He looked at Vanessa. He nodded slightly. He went to the back. He returned with a white bottle. "Aspirin," he said. He handed it to Vanessa. She took it. She put it in her bag. We walked out. I did not have the package. I felt a surge of panic. Did I imagine it? Did Arthur change the plan? We got in the car. Vanessa opened her purse to put the aspirin away. She frowned. She pulled out a small manila envelope. "What is this?" she asked. She looked at me. I looked out the window. My heart stopped. Mr. Henderson had given it to her by mistake, or on purpose. I did not know. Vanessa opened the envelope. Inside was a card. It had Arthur Jenkins' name on it, and a note. "For Margaret. Private." Vanessa's face changed. The colour drained away. She looked at me, then she looked at the card. "Who is Arthur Jenkins?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, dangerous. I said nothing. I looked at my hands. David looked in the rearview mirror. Mum, what is this? I took a breath. An old friend, I said. Just sending regards. Vanessa did not believe me. She put the card in her pocket. She did not give it to me. We drove home in silence. The air in the car was thick. I knew I had made a mistake. I had tipped my hand. They knew I was reaching out. That night, the atmosphere in the condo changed. Dinner was quiet. Vanessa did not ask me to take my pills. She just set the cup on the table. Take these, she said. I looked at the pills. They were different. 2 white ones, no blue, no yellow. I picked one up. What is this? I asked. Vanessa smiled. It is a new formulation, stronger, for your own good. I put the pill down. I am not tired yet, I said. Her smile vanished. You will take them, Margaret. It is not a request. David looked at his plate. He did not speak. He was letting her do it. I stood up. I am going to my room. I left the pills on the table. I heard Vanessa whisper behind me. She is resisting. We need to accelerate, David replied. What if she called someone? Vanessa said. She won't. We will make sure she can't. I walked down the hallway. My legs felt weak. Not from the pills, from fear. I locked my door. I sat on the bed. I listened. I heard footsteps approaching. They stopped outside my door. The handle turned. It was locked. Vanessa's voice came through the wood. Margaret, open the door. We need to talk. I did not answer. I turned off the light. I lay down. I pulled the covers over my head. I waited in the dark. The footsteps stayed there for a long time. Then they walked away. I knew then that the time for secrets was over. They knew I was fighting, and they were going to stop me. The next morning I woke up early. The sun was just coming up. I knew I had to find the documents. Arthur had said they were preparing the guardianship transfer. It had to be in the house. Vanessa kept her files in a locked cabinet in the Home Office. I had seen the key once. It was on her keyring. She wore it around her neck sometimes, but sometimes she left it on the counter. I waited until she went to shower. David was in the kitchen making coffee. I walked out of my room. I wore my robe. I looked like I was just getting water. David was looking at his phone. He did not see me. I walked past the kitchen. I went to the office. The door was ajar. I slipped inside. The cabinet was on the left. I tried the handle. Locked. I looked around. I saw a spare key hidden in a fake plant on the shelf. Robert used to hide keys like that. I took it. My hands were shaking. I put the key in the lock. It turned. I opened the door. Inside were files. Many files. I saw one labeled Davis, Margaret. I pulled it out. I opened it. There were bank statements. There were medical forms. And there was a document titled Emergency Guardianship Petition. It was dated for next week. It listed me as incapacitated. It listed Vanessa as the guardian. It listed David as the witness. I turned the page. There was a signature at the bottom. It said Margaret Davis, but it was not my signature. It was a copy. A forgery. I heard a noise behind me. I turned around. Vanessa was standing in the doorway. She was wearing her robe. Her hair was wet. She was holding her phone. She was recording me. I did not move. I held the paper in my hand. She smiled. It was not a nice smile. "What are you doing, Margaret?" she asked. I said nothing. I just held the paper. She stepped into the room. She closed the door behind her. "Give me that," she said. I shook my head. "No," I said. Her eyes went cold. "You should not have looked," she said. "Now we have a problem." She took a step toward me. I took a step back. My back hit the cabinet. There was nowhere to go. She reached out her hand. "Give it to me." I looked at the paper. Then I looked at her. I thought about Robert. I thought about the house. I thought about the pills. I tightened my grip on the document. "No," I said again. My voice was loud, clear. Vanessa's face hardened. She moved faster than I expected. She lunged for the paper. I pulled it away. She grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin. "Let go," she hissed. I held on. I screamed. "David!" I screamed. Vanessa clamped her hand over my mouth. "Shut up," she said. "You are confused. You are sick." I bit her hand. She yelled. She let go. I dropped the paper. It fell to the floor. She kicked it under the desk. She grabbed me by the shoulders. She pushed me against the wall. "You are making a mistake," she said. "A big mistake." I looked into her eyes. There was no mercy there, only panic. She raised her hand. I thought she was going to hit me. The door opened. David stood there. He looked at Vanessa. He looked at me. He looked at the paper on the floor. "What is going on?" he asked. Vanessa turned to him. She pointed at me. "She attacked me," she said. "She is violent. She is dangerous." David looked at me. He waited for me to deny it. I looked at him. I waited for him to see the truth. He looked at the paper under the desk. He saw the corner sticking out. He walked toward it. Vanessa stepped in front of him. "Do not touch that," she said. David stopped. He looked at his wife. Then he looked at me. For the first time I saw doubt in his eyes. Just a flicker, but it was there. Vanessa saw it too. She panicked. She grabbed a vase from the shelf. She held it up. "Get out," she said to me. "Get out of the house. You are not welcome here." I looked at David. He did not stop her. He did not help me. He just stood there. I turned and walked out of the office. I walked down the hallway. I went to my room. I locked the door. I slid down against the wood. I listened. I heard them arguing in the office. I heard Vanessa crying. I heard David shouting. I closed my eyes. I knew what I had to do now. I could not wait for the lawyer. I could not wait for the police. I had to get out. Tonight. But as I sat there, I heard a key turn in the front door. Someone else was here. I held my breath. I heard footsteps, heavy boots, not Vanessa's heels. Not David's shoes. Someone new. And then a voice I did not recognize. "Where is she?" the voice said. I froze. I realized I was not the only one playing a game. I held my breath until my lungs burned. The voice came again, deeper this time. "I need to speak with Mrs. Davis. Immediately." It was not a police officer. It sounded professional, calm. I recognized the tone. It was Arthur Jenkins. But Arthur wore leather shoes, not heavy boots. The person with him wore boots. I pressed my ear against the wood. I heard Vanessa's voice, shrill and defensive. "She is resting. She is not well. You cannot come in here." The man with the boots spoke again. "We have a warrant to inspect the premises. Regarding elder welfare." My heart jumped. Arthur had moved faster than I imagined. He had not just sent a messenger, he had brought authority. I looked at my hands. They were still shaking from the struggle with Vanessa. my wrist bruised where her nails had dug in. I smoothed my robe. I wiped my face. I could not hide in this room forever. If I stayed hidden, they would say I was too sick to speak. If I came out, I could fight. I thought of Robert. He would not hide. He would stand in the doorway and demand answers. I took a deep breath. I unlocked the door. I opened it. I walked down the hallway. The living room was bright with overhead lights. Vanessa stood near the couch, her arms crossed. David sat on the edge of the chair, his head in his hands. Arthur stood near the door wearing his grey suit. Beside him was a man in a dark uniform with a badge. The man with the boots. They all looked at me when I entered. Vanessa stepped forward. "Margaret, you should be in bed. You are confused." I ignored her. I walked to the center of the room. I stood tall. I looked at Arthur. "You received my call," I said. Arthur nodded. "I did, Margaret. And I brought help." The man with the badge stepped forward. He introduced himself as Inspector Cole. He said he was with Adult Protective Services. He looked at Vanessa. "We need to discuss the medication administration in this household." Vanessa laughed. It was a nervous sound. "This is ridiculous. I am a healthcare administrator. I know what I am doing." Inspector Cole did not smile. He took a notebook from his pocket. "Then you will not mind showing us the prescription bottles." Vanessa hesitated. She looked at David. David looked at me. For the first time, he did not look away. He looked ashamed. I saw it clearly. The mask was slipping. I walked to the table where I had left the cup of pills earlier. I picked it up. I held it out to the inspector. "These are not my pills," I said. My voice did not shake. I know what I was prescribed. I know what I was given. Inspector Cole took the cup. He put it in an evidence bag. He sealed it. "This will be tested," he said. Vanessa's face went white. "You cannot do this. She is my mother-in-law. I am protecting her." Arthur stepped forward. He held a folder. "We have a copy of the guardianship petition," he said. "We also have a handwriting analysis of the signature. It is not Mrs. Davis's signature. It is a forgery." The room went silent. You could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Vanessa looked at David. "Tell them," she said. "Tell them she is sick." David stood up. He looked at Vanessa. Then he looked at me. "Mom," he said quietly, "is this true?" I looked at my son. I felt a pain in my chest sharper than any grief. I wanted to lie. I wanted to protect him. But Robert's voice echoed in my mind. Trust, but verify. I could not verify love, but I could verify truth. "Yes, David," I said. "It is true. She is stealing from me. She is poisoning me. And you let her." David sat back down. He put his head in his hands again. Vanessa screamed. She lunged toward me. "You ungrateful old woman. We took you in. We fed you. We housed you. And this is how you repay us." Inspector Cole stepped between us. He put a hand on her arm. "Step back, Mom." Vanessa shook him off. She was frantic now. The plan was falling apart. She looked at David. "Say something. Tell them I did it for us. For the family." David looked up. His eyes were red. "What did you do, Vanessa?" he asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "What did you give her?" Vanessa laughed again. It was hysterical. "I saved us. She was never going to spend that money. She was going to leave it to charity. She was going to leave it to the church. It belongs to us. We are family." I looked at her. I felt no anger anymore. I felt pity. She was so consumed by greed, she could not see the wreckage she left behind. I looked at David. He looked small. He looked like the boy who scraped his knee. But he was not that boy anymore. He was a man who let his wife hurt his mother. I turned to Arthur. "I want to go home," I said. Arthur nodded. "We are preparing the car, but there is one more thing." He opened his folder. He pulled out a sheet of paper. "This is a toxicology report from Mr. Henderson. It confirms the substitution of your medication. It confirms the dosage was lethal over time." He handed it to Inspector Cole. "This is enough for an arrest," the inspector said. He looked at Vanessa. "You need to come with us for questioning." Vanessa backed away. "You cannot touch me. I have rights." David stood up. He walked toward her. He stopped inches from her face. "You lied to me," he said. "You told me it was just vitamins. You told me she needed help." Vanessa shoved him. She tried to run for the door. Inspector Cole caught her arm. He read her rights. I watched them handcuff her. The metal clicked. It sounded final, like a lock turning. She looked at me as they led her out. Her eyes were full of hate. "You will regret this," she said. "You will die alone." I did not flinch. "I am not alone," I said. "I have myself." They took her out the door. The silence returned. But it was different now. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of peace. David stayed in the condo. He could not look at me. He said he needed to process everything. I understood. He had lost his wife. He had lost his mother's trust. He had lost himself. Arthur drove me back to Portland. The drive took 4 hours. I watched the trees pass by. I watched the sky turn from grey to blue. When we arrived at my house, the sun was setting. The sage-green siding looked familiar. The porch swings squeaked when the wind blew. I walked up the steps. I put the key in the lock. It turned smoothly. I walked inside. The air smelled like dust and roses. It smelled like Robert. I sat in his chair. I did not turn on the television. I did not make tea. I just sat. Arthur left the documents on the table. He said he would handle the rest. The house was mine. The money was mine. My life was mine. But I did not feel like celebrating. I felt tired. I felt old. I looked at my hands. They were spotted with age. They were weak. That they were my hands. I had fought for them. I had fought for every breath I took in that condo. I thought about David. I wondered if he would ever call. I wondered if he would ever forgive me for exposing his wife. I knew then that forgiveness was not guaranteed. Sometimes love is not enough to fix what is broken. Sometimes you have to cut the rot out to save the tree. I stayed in that chair until it was dark. I did not turn on the lights. I liked the shadows. They hid the tears I finally let fall. I cried for Robert. I cried for the son I lost. I cried for the woman I almost became. A victim. A ghost. But I was not a ghost. I was here. I was breathing. I was free. The weeks that followed were quiet. The legal proceedings moved slowly. Vanessa pleaded guilty to avoid a trial. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison. David filed for divorce immediately. He sold the condo. He moved back to Portland. He rented a small apartment near the park. He called me one evening. His voice was shaky. He asked if he could come over. I said yes. He arrived with a bag of groceries. He did not come inside at first. He stood on the porch. He looked at the swing. He looked at the door. I opened it. "Come in," I said. He walked inside. He put the groceries on the counter. He looked around. "It looks the same," he said. I nodded. I kept it ready. He cried then. He stood in the kitchen and cried like a child. I did not hug him. Not yet. Some wounds take time to heal. We sat at the table. We drank coffee. He told me he did not know everything. He said Vanessa told him I was deteriorating. He said he thought he was helping. I listened. I did not excuse him, but I heard him. He asked if I could ever forgive him. I told him the truth. I said forgiveness is a process. It is not a switch. He nodded. He understood. He started coming over every week. He helped me in the garden. He fixed the shelf in the garage. He did not ask for money. He did not ask for the house. He just worked. We rebuilt slowly, brick by brick, word by word. Trust is like a mirror. Once it is broken, you can fix it, but you will always see the crack. I learned to live with the crack. I learned to live with the caution. I still take my medication, but I keep it in a locked box. I count the pills every Sunday. I go to the pharmacy myself. I speak to Mr. Henderson. He smiles when I walk in. He asks how the roses are doing. I tell him they are blooming. He saved my life. I tell him that often. He says he just did his job. But jobs do not require courage. Choices require courage. He chose to care. I chose to fight. We are both still here. I often think about the people watching this. I think about the grandparents who are afraid to speak up. I think about the parents who feel like a burden. You are not a burden. You are a person. You have rights. You have a voice. Do not let anyone take it from you. Not even family, especially family. Love should not hurt. Care should not control. If you feel something is wrong, trust that feeling. Your body knows the truth before your mind accepts it. If you feel weak, ask why. If you feel confused, ask who. Write things down. Keep records. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell a pharmacist. There are people who will help, but you must ask. You must speak. Silence is what they rely on. Silence is their weapon. Break the silence. Robert used to say, trust but verify. I used to think it meant checking the locks on the doors. I used to think it meant balancing the checkbook. Now I know it means something deeper. It means verifying your own worth. It means trusting yourself enough to say no. It means trusting yourself enough to walk away. I am 67 years old. I am a widow. I am a mother. I am a survivor. I sit on my porch every evening. I watch the sun go down over the park. The roses are blooming. The swing squeaks. The house is quiet. But it is not lonely. It is peaceful. I have my memories. I have my dignity. I have my life. And that is enough. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. Like the video and subscribe. Knowing someone else is listening makes all the difference. We are not alone. We are never alone. Good night.